So now the application is running. You can see that it's displaying the dark theme. And right now there's nothing there because we're just displaying an empty scaffold. Next step, let's initialize Hive. So we have to go in main. And then first thing we want to do is say widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialized. And then after that, we'll say await hive dot init flutter. And then we need to import the Hive package and make this asynchronous. And we'll have to say that this is a future. And we also need to import hive underscore flutter. So here we have this line, widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialized. And what this does is that if we look at the layered architecture of Flutter, you have the framework that communicates with the engine. So this part right here ensures that the engine is initialized before calling hive.init flutter. Because of this command needs to have the engine running first, we need to have widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialized before running this command. If we don't have any of this, we don't need to run widgets flutter binding because that will be handled by the run app itself. Next thing we want to do is let's look at shared preferences. So we're not going to actually need shared preferences in our application, but it's good to know because shared preferences are very useful if you want to store simple values for settings, for example. So like we said, let's say you're building a game and you have a volume control, and the user sets the volume control of the app. You don't want them to keep resetting the volume controls every time they close the app and then open it again. Same thing with light or dark mode. Let's say the user opens the app and switches to dark mode. Once they close the app and open it again, you want to remember that they set it to dark mode. You don't want them to start all over again. So in order to do that, let's just make a simple function here. So we'll say future void, and then we'll say example, make that async. And if we want to get the instance for shared preferences, you say final prefs equals to await, and then shared preferences dot get instance. So this will give you the shared preferences instance. Next we'll say await prefs dot set string, and then we have a key value pair, so we'll say key, and then here it could be a value, so you'd say value. So this is how you actually set data in shared preferences. So you're setting the key, the data with the key, and then the value. And then if you want to retrieve data, you say string, and then it's an optional because it might not exist. And then you say value equals to prefs dot get string, and then you will enter the key. So if we want to get this value, right? So we were going to enter key, and then that will give us the value. It's just like a normal map. Next, we can just print value. And if we want to remove something from shared preferences, we say prefs dot remove, and then pass in the key. So we say key. So here, let's actually run this. So I'll say example. And what should happen here is that when we run the build method, it should run this, and then it would print the value, which is just going to be a string called value. So let's do that. So as you can see here, it says Flutter, and then it printed value. So this is a simple example to show you how to work with shared preferences. So you can do this for doing multiple things, like we said, light and dark mode, and so on. Next step, let's actually look at Hive and how to use it. So I'm going to comment this out for now, comment and then delete this. And let's look at Hive usage.